Okay, it's time for creating layouts 101. I am using 7.0, so if you see a bunch of stuff on here that you don't recognize, apparently it's time for you to upgrade to a newer version. Alright, I'm going to go into the layout editor and show you how to create a layout. Yes, there are a bunch of layouts that are built into the layout editor that you could possibly use, and I'm going to kind of scroll down here because I've got all of those turned off. Okay, themed layouts are all built in. There's a whole bunch of different types of layouts that are built in, okay? But you're better off actually creating a layout from scratch. And it is extremely super easy. Okay, it's not rocket science, really. First thing you do is you go into the layout editor, and it does not matter what layout is in here, whether it's a double strip site, horizontal site, double strip, or a portrait double strip, or if it's a layout that's, let's see if I can find one here, the full 4x6, whatever. It doesn't matter if it's square layouts, okay? Doesn't matter whether it's portrait layouts. It doesn't matter what you're in here. You go into the layout editor and customize or create a new layout. And when you're in the layout editor, it doesn't matter what's here on the screen. It doesn't matter if it's portrait or the widescreen. It doesn't matter, because you're going to click on the create new layout. When you create a new layout, you name it. And I'm going to call this layout 101. Just so that we know, this is a layout we're creating from scratch, okay? You need to tell it whether or not this is going to be a portrait, which would be an up and down layout, full 4x6, or if it's a landscape layout like the one in the background here, okay? So you would tell it that. I'm going to click it on landscape. You also need to know if you're using the right paper size. The paper size for Sparkbooth and all photo booth layouts is basically a 4x6 size paper, okay? If you purchased a layout created by somebody else out there on the internet, you would want to select a different size. This is pointing to the 1800 by 1200 size, 1800 wide by 1200 tall, okay? Because it's a landscape layout. If it were a portrait layout, it would change the numbers to be the opposite of 1200 wide by 1800 tall. But if you purchased a layout and the layout was created by other companies, you would want to create a 6x4. It doesn't matter if it's 6x4 or 4x4, but it would be the DNP size. The DNP size is going to change these numbers to a larger size layout that has bleed over space, okay? We're not getting into how to do all of the bleed over space layouts, but I'm just letting you know if you purchase a layout, you would select the 4x6 DNP size, and if I click OK here, it will change the numbers up here to now 1844 by 1240, okay? I'm not doing that layout. I am doing a layout that is going to be a 4x6. Like I said, it doesn't matter what's here. A new layout. This is called layout 101. 101. Okay. I am going to do a landscape layout. Okay. And it is going to be, you select what type of photo boxes you're using. In the background you see square. If it were widescreen photo box, you'd select that. If you were doing portrait photo boxes, you'd select that, okay? If you were doing the odd size, which is 4:3 or 3:4, which is like a Polaroid size photo somebody asked for and is now available, you would select that one. I'm going to leave it on widescreen, okay? I am going to do In this case, I'm going to start out with a portrait layout, okay? And the portrait layout is going to be just like the one in the background using widescreen photo boxes. Now, if I were doing a double strip, okay, now in 7.0 you have the ability of only creating one side of the layout, which would be strip layout printed double, and you would check this box. This would give you a image that looks like this here, which is a single up and down strip. If you have backgrounds that are already created for 4x6, it might make it a little more difficult for you to do. But that's one way. I'm going to delete this one, and I'm going to go back in and do it again. I'm going to change a new layout, layout 101, 101, okay? I'm going to do a portrait layout, okay? And I'm going to do it in wide photo boxes, and I'm going to click OK. So now you know what this button here does, okay? Don't check it unless you're doing a double strip printed, so that it has two sides, and you're only creating one. I'm going to do a double strip portrait, and I click OK. That's the simple part. Remember, a layout is basically a sandwich. You start with a white piece of bread and you put it on the plate. Okay? That's what we're looking at. If you wanted to change that background to a rye piece of bread, okay, you change the color of it, as simple as that. Any color in the rainbow you want, okay, whatever color is listed over here. Sure, this is not quite the rainbow, but there are ways of creating colors, because when you select that, the numbers that are in this box right here, you can change to whatever you want, and the first two digits are the green, the red color. The second two digits are the green color, and the third two digits are the yellow. Okay, those three colors make up the rainbow. I'm going to get out of that. I'm going to put this back on white bread. You can also change it to a fancy white bread by selecting a background image, and you would go onto your computer looking for some type of a background image. If you've got background images saved, like I have over here, it would be simple for me to go in here and pick a background image that I wanted to use, and let's say I wanted to use that. I click open, it puts it on the background. Okay? There's another simple way that's built in, okay, for adding a background image. Okay? There are some background images already in here under images on the square and the pencil, and if you went into images, you can select the background images that are built in here called backgrounds. Okay? So if I have background images that are built in here, like these here, and I select that one, I would want to make sure I am doing a portrait layout. It is going up and down this way, so I changed it to 270. Okay? Or if I put it on 0, it would make it with the red at the top and fill the background. Same with this one here. Okay? Same with this one here. It's at the top is still at the top, but it's only so wide. If you change it to this size, it will flip it over to that size. And then you just click create, and it will populate the background to have this background image that's built in to the layout editor already. Okay, it's adding it, there it is. Okay, you can also click on the pencil, okay, and you can generate a linear gradient background, a radial gradient background, a striped background, or a tiled background. I'm going to show you the linear gradient background up to 6 different colors. Okay, and you change these colors to anything you want. If that's not enough orange, you add a little more orange. If that's too much red, and so on. You can rotate these colors to give the stripes in a different direction, okay? The more colors, you can get rid of a green. I don't like the green. I don't like the purple. You can get rid of the purple, okay? It's got too much yellow, so I'm going to add a new one, and I'm going to change the yellow to something else. Let me see if I can get rid of some of this, make that a darker blue. So you can actually get very creative with it and rotate it, and you hit create, and it populates the background with that color. That's gradient. If you wanted to do gradient, if you wanted to do radial. Radial is from the center, it's adding colors. You add whatever colors you want, and you can actually point the focal point, rotate it so that it's in a different direction, and then create the background with whatever colors you wanted, and it would be your background. Okay? So there are many different ways. I have actually added backgrounds of my own in here, and you do that by clicking on the plus sign. Okay? And when you click on the plus sign, it wants to know what the name of these backgrounds are, and you would click, you would type in what you wanted to call it and click OK. I have added backgrounds that I use all the time for vertical backgrounds 4x6, and these are, some of them are double strip layouts, some of them are full backgrounds. Like this one's a full background. You put it on 0 so you can see the full background. Okay, so I've added a bunch already in here that are backgrounds of my own, so I don't have to look for them on my computer anymore. So when I'm doing double vertical strips, I've got a double strip background that I've already created. Okay, if I were doing a full 4x6 up and down that has no, I'm trying to find one here, that has no division between the halves, I could use something like that. Okay, or something. This is a double strip, as you can see here. This is a solid background of some sort. So I've added, as you can see, I've added a lot. There's a ton of them in here. Okay, let's pretend we're going to do a double strip with this as my background. Okay, once you've selected the background to have as a background, it populates the screen with this new background because it's going to create it right here on the screen for you to work with. The next thing you're going to do, because that's your piece of bread on the bottom, you're going to add photo boxes. And when you add a photo box, it automatically makes it half of the width. I would never make it fitting edge to edge on a double strip. I would always make it smaller by making it, grabbing a corner and reducing the size, or actually taking and hitting the width and making it down to 560, because the width of a half a strip is 600, and I want to have 20 pixels on the left and 20 pixels on the right. See how I dragged it over, and the X is 20 away from the left. I know I've got 20 left on the right, because 20 and 560 is 600. Once you've created your first image, your first photo box, the next photo box will come in at the exact same size. You just line it up over here, putting it at 20 away from the edge. Bring in the third photo box, bring it in over here, and put it at 20 away from the edge. And if you can't get it by moving it around this way, you can use the up and down X over here to put it in the exact spot. So I now have my 3 boxes on the left hand side. Okay, if I were to preview this right now by hitting on the eyeball to preview the layout, it's going to show me the full 4x6 layout, and only half of it is done. It would look like this. Populate the screen over here. And it would look like this. Okay, That's what is sent to the printer, okay? Now, let's say that I have the layout finished with some text down here, the photo box is up there, and I am going to do a double strip. If I'm doing a double strip layout, okay, and I want to put, I got the left-hand side, you create it just the way you want. You can add the effects if you're going to put a glow on it, like a white border around the photo box. I'm going to take this up to 20, take this up to 10, okay, take this up to 20, add effects for glow, make it in white, the same thing. I'm doing this rather quickly, but you'll be able to watch this video over and over again as I'm putting a glow, which is like a frame. I'm putting little white frames around my photo boxes all the way up to 20, make this at 10, okay? And now, and you can do the same thing in effect on the text. I'm going to put in a drop shadow, but I'm going to make the drop shadow white, so now the text stands out, okay? And now when I preview it, it's going to preview how does it look. I'm just looking at the left-hand side, and I want to make sure it looks perfect for me. I love it. I'm going to use it, okay? So once you've selected it and you say you love it and you're going to use it, now you want to take everything on the left-hand side and copy it over to the right-hand side. There are a couple different ways to do that. One way is to click on each item, hit Control and the letter C, Control and the letter V, and then it will copy and paste, and it drops it down. You can move it over to here, okay, and do the same thing on number 2. This is time consuming. Let me show you a much faster way. I'm going to get rid of the extra one I just made. A faster way is you've got it all done. Hold down the Control key and hit the A key. That grabs everything. Now click Control and the letter C, Control and the letter V. It now has pasted, and on top, everything on the left-hand side, but it dropped it down 10 and moved it 10 pixels to the right. 10 down and 10 to the right. I want it to be identical, so I don't want to slide it all over to the right and be 10 pixels lower. So in order to move it all up, I'm going to hold down the Control key and hit the arrow up key one time, and that brings it up exactly 10 pixels. If I wanted it to be exactly on top of what's there, I would hold down the Control key and hit the arrow left one time, and now you can't tell there's another duplicate on top. But I'm going to move it all the way over to the right, holding down my Control key and arrow right. Every time I hit the arrow right, it's moving 10 pixels. It's a nice even number, and I'm just holding it down, and once I get it to where it's perfect, you can see it's got the same distance on the left and on the right. I can let go and click away. And now if you click on photo box 1 on the left, it's 20 pixels on the X from the left. The number 1, and it's 158 pixels from the top. That's what the Y is over here. If I click on the number 1 box on the right, it's 158 from the top, and it's 620 pixels from the left. 600 for the width of the left plus the 20 extra. So now you have an identical layout on the left and on the right, because it's a double strip layout. Okay, so now when I click the preview button, this is what the full finished layout will look like. It'll preview it, both sides, perfect. I love it. But the thing is, you are doing double strips. You have a printer assuming you have a printer that will cut it into 2 strips. You don't want the people to see a double strip when they're only getting a half strip. This is when you would click the display split. This is only used, display split, for a double strip layout. And it doesn't matter if it's a double strip layout vertical or a double strip layout horizontal. Yes, you can do a horizontal double strip, which I prefer to do because it gives you more real estate for longer and larger text. Right now we only have a little 2-inch area here, and I'll show you that in a moment. Okay, so you only check that, and when you check this display split button and click the preview, it is only going to preview the left side of the layout because that's what they are going to get. Okay, and by checking this display split button, okay, it also, when you do your sessions, it will create a single strip saved in the main layout save folder, okay, and it will create a new folder called prints where the double strips will be at, because that's what's sent to the printer, and the printer prints a double strip and cuts it in half. Okay? Now, let's say that I'm not doing a double strip layout. Okay? I'm going to turn off the display. I'm going to leave the display split on. And I'm going to get rid of one of the text boxes here and a bunch of these photo boxes on the left. All over here, I'm going to change this background image that I used. And that background image, if I can find one I'm going to use this background image instead. And it's going to be at 0. And I'm going to hit create. I'm going to use a different background. Now I'm going to create a full 4x6, a nice big with 2 photo boxes, okay, and I'm going to make this, I'm going to try to make it 1000 real quick, so I have even numbers, and I'm 100 away from the left, because it's 1200 wide, and that will make it 100 from the left and 100 from the right. And I'm just going to delete number 2, and I'm going to add a new one. It'll make it the right size automatically. I do have to add in the glow, which was white border, up to 20, and put this at 10. Okay, now I've got my text. By doing it this way, I can actually make my text wider across the bottom of the screen. Okay, now you will remember it says display split. I'm doing a single 4x6 now. I would have to go into my printer settings and make sure I turn off the cutting in double strips. Okay? And if you leave this display split on, this is what you're going to get printed out, is a left-hand side of the strip, because you have actually made it a double strip. And if you turn off the double strip, okay, and preview it, this is what it will actually print out. So you want to remember, only use the display split when you are doing a double strip layout. Alright? Alright, so that's a few things there. Let me pause for a moment and come up with the next. Okay, now, so that kind of gives you an idea of a vertical portrait style layout for 4x6 and for the double strips that you've done there. I am going to clone this. I'm going to create a different layout, okay? And this layout is going to be called layout 102, because this layout 102 will be a landscape layout, okay, doing the same that I did before, okay. Now, if I were doing a landscape layout as a full 4x6, you have the same backgrounds over here that you can use, and I have horizontal backgrounds that I have created, okay, and you create this background, put it back there, or a color, or whatever you do for a background, okay. So you know that you can do the same type of backgrounds images, and some of them are already built in. If you go to where it's got backgrounds here, you'll see there's a background image here. There's most of them are, there's a background image here. Here's a colorful one, another colorful one, another colorful one. So there's a lot of backgrounds. Here's a Halloween one, okay? There's a lot that are already built in that you can use. Or you can do like I did, and I added a whole lot of horizontal backgrounds, okay? And sometimes I'm doing a full 4x6, and sometimes I'm doing a double strip horizontal, okay? I'm going to use this background for a double strip horizontal. So now I've got the top strip colors hopping in here, and the bottom. And it's identical to doing a vertical strip, except for now you have a little more real estate to work with. So when I add the first photo box, it's going to make it 600 wide. If I had 3 across here, they would be touching edge to edge, 600, 1200, and 1800. As I did before, I took it all the way down to, I'm going to take this one down to 40. Okay, 540, and I'm going to put a photo box over here about 30 away from the left and 20 away from the top, or maybe even, I'll leave it at 20 away from the top. Now when I bring in the next photo box, it's the same size. I want it to be right down the middle. How do I know where right down the middle is? There is a guide you can use, and it doesn't matter what layout you're using. Control and the letter G brings up this green line guide. You see, this is the middle vertically, and there's another line here that you can't see because it's a double strip, okay? If I got rid of that background, you'll see there's a green line there. And let me bring that background back in, or something similar to it, so that I'm going to use this nice little pink one here and create that. Okay, so now you see you have a double strip layout, and you would want to center this one, okay, on the screen, okay, and put it 30 away from the top, like 20 away from the top, like the first one is, and I bring in the third photo box and put it over here, okay, and try to get it about the same distance and put it 20 away from the top, okay, so they're all nice and neat. And now by doing it this way, if I preview it as before, I have not checked display split, it's going to show the full layout with the 3 photo boxes, okay? Now if I check the split, it'll only show the top 3 photo boxes, okay? So that's showing, and the reason you're not seeing the whole thing is I have my layout, oh, sorry about that, this layout here, I have to minimize it, cancel, so it actually fits on the screen. Alright, that was my preview window. Back in the layout editor, now I can add text that is nice and big. So if I wanted our wedding day all the way across the screen in nice big letters, okay? And you can use any font that is on your computer, okay? There are no fonts built into the software. So whatever font you select on your computer, you can use. I'm going to scroll down. I've got thousands of fonts on mine. I'm going to go down here to Bank, where'd it go? Bank script, nice fancy font. Make it bold, any color as before. If I wanted it to be a nice blue letter, okay, you can make it bigger, the fonts get bigger. Okay, so now you have a nice big font. I always reduce the size of the box around it so that I don't accidentally click on it. Okay, and then if you wanted to create another line of text and don't want to find everything, you can copy this one, Control and the letter C, Control and the letter V. Now I've copied this one, but this one's going to be Our Wedding Day above it with Susan and Robert. B-O-B-B. Robert, Susan and Bobby. Spell it right, Joe. Susan and Bobby. Okay? You can make it italic to give it a little pizzazz. Add an effect like a drop shadow. Any color you want. If you wanted to have a gold drop shadow. Same on this one up here. Leave it in the blue color and add a drop shadow in a black. Okay, so you can get real fancy with it and you can move it around. Just be aware there's a line down here. You don't want to get too close to it, but because I brought the text in after the photo boxes, you can now put the text slightly on the photo box. And when you preview it here in Display Split, I'm going to try to get that window behind it to show the whole strip because it is actually larger than my window. I'm going to click No here and make this window a little smaller so now you can see the photo box fits nice and neat on the screen. Alright, so I'm going to get this out of the way. Okay, that's out of the way. So now once you've got that done, you can turn off the Control and the letter G by holding down the guide to get rid of that. And now I've got it. It looks perfect. Control and A selects everything. Control, the letter C copies everything. Control and the letter V like we did before. But this time I'm now going to move everything to the left and straight down, holding down the Control key, moving it 10 pixels at a time. Okay? So they are now a double strip split. So that's how you would create a horizontal layout. Okay? Having all the same effects as you had before, but I always create one side of the strip first and then duplicate it to make it easier. But you can still go in and you can rotate your photo boxes. Okay, I don't know if you remember that, but you can rotate your photo boxes. If by chance you made a mistake and you move that photo box and it's not straight anymore, oh crap, that's not right. Just hit Control and the letter Z. It's called undo. So if I I didn't want to move that. Control, letter Z, moves it back. It will do that a few times. If I move, oh crap, oh, I'm really screwing things. Oh, doggone it, Control and the letter Z, Control and the letter Z, and keep clicking it until you get things back to what it was. So that kind of gives you some ideas. I'm sure there are some things I didn't quite go over, but I want you to understand, only use the display split when you are doing a double strip, whether it's horizontal double strip or vertical double strip. Do not use this if you're doing a full layout 4x6 horizontal or a 4x6 in a vertical look. Okay? Because it will split it in half. And when it saves it to a folder, I'll show you here. Okay, I'll show you here. it saves your layouts to a save folder in settings. When I go into the settings here, and I've got save folders over here, this changing my layout for the default layout. That wasn't what we were just working on. It was layout 102. I gotta see if we can find it. Where did it go? Layout 102. I don't see where it's at. I know I just saved it in there. I was just working on it. Okay. Pause it. Okay, I got it back to layout 102. I don't know why it did that. It just acted weird. Sometimes they do. Alright, so when it saves layouts in the save folders, you tell it where to save the layouts, okay? And if you want to preview where they're saved, you can click the eyeball and it'll show you. I'm saving mine in a test folder, but the layouts that I save for my events are saved in a folder that's basically called PB Pics. On my desktop, I have a folder over here called PB Pics, and inside of that folder, it has a dated folder for each event. So when I'm doing a new event, I will create a new folder, give it a date, and inside of this folder I will create another folder called singles. This is where I will save my individual photos, okay? So I have the singles photos saved, okay? What I was saying is when you're doing a double strip, it saves all of the main folders are saved, all the layouts are saved in the main saved layouts folder. If you're saving the individuals, it will save them in the singles folder, because you're pointing to that. And when you create a double strip and you have selected in the layout editor over here for it to display split, okay, when you have selected that, and you've got this closed and in the save folder you're pointing to, it will create a new folder over here called prints, where it puts all of the double strips that are sent to the printer, and the printer cuts them into the single strips and prints them out. Hopefully, this covers 99% of issues people are having when trying to create a layout, and layouts are really easy to do. If you need to do a one-on-one because you're still having issues with creating a layout, contact me anytime in the Sparkbooth users group from the Sparkbooth help section. Say, Joe, I need your help. Can we do a Skype meeting? By doing a Skype meeting, we can talk English only. Sorry, but I barely speak it well, and I was born here. But we can talk, and I can share my screen and show you how it's done. So that should help with layout creation 101 and 102 all in one little bundle. Good luck, folks.